Hello, welcome to Fibro Warrior, my new normal. I'm MJ Aragon, and I'm here with my producers, Jojo Myricks and Tony Jefferies. Hi. Today I wanted to talk about, I've had a lot of things going on, and the thing that keeps pounding on my mind all day long is that I've had a brain shear injury. I know a lot of you probably haven't heard of that. I hadn't heard of it until recently. It appears that when I had a car accident 5 years ago, it'll be in June, I incurred a brain injury. And I wasn't aware of it. At the time, I was just so thankful that I wasn't paralyzed, because the doctors had all told me that if I was in any type of car accident, whether it's small or big, that I could likely be paralyzed. So I was just thankful at that moment that I wasn't, and I didn't really question it when I had the x-rays done and they said everything was fine. So I just kind of took them at their word and didn't really search much more, because at the time I was just learning about everything else that was going on. I was already seeing a multitude of doctors, probably 12 I think at the time, different specialists. And so I just kind of said, okay, I'm just happy I'm not paralyzed, and I went on with it, not realizing that there was some severe damage done. Now, although it wasn't a horrific accident, it did do some damage, and it appears that the damage is getting worse for me. And I was kind of putting it off, just assuming it was brain fog, you know, because we all have those brain fog moments, and where we can't remember things. And you know, this is so much worse. This has gotten even worse, and I think it may be the stress that's kind of making it worse as well, because I've been stressed out. I found out about 5 different things that are going on. Thankfully, my biopsies went well. I didn't have any cancer in my lady parts. Then a bone issue came up. Thankfully, that's not cancer or anything. It's just I have really severe arthritis. The stroke thing, of course, I'm still liable to have a stroke, because my heart rate, or my blood pressure, sorry, is it's elevated more often than not. And what else was the other things? Of course, the brain shear accident, the incident, and something else. It's just a lot of things happening. And so, and I also found out that I may have had a heart attack not too long ago. And women, our heart attacks are not like a man's. Ours are actually much more subtle. So we don't have the telltale pain in the left arm or anything like that. Ours can be much more mild and seem like maybe a panic attack or something even less. So I'm going to have an EKG and stuff like that done to find that out. Oh yes, my liver. And then I find out that I have liver issues. I have very, very elevated, almost 10 times the normal values. And after all the testing the doctor's done, even ultrasound, it looks perfectly fine, but it's not fine. It's got something going on. So now I have to go to a specialist for that. So needless to say, I'm not excited about this. And the thing that's been on my mind the most, like I said, was my brain shear injury. Now, this is something that's so bothersome. Even today, I had an appointment today. The appointment was supposed to be at 2:40, but I had it down in my calendar as 4:20. Apparently, I inverted the numbers. This is not the first time I've done this. I've done this several times. I've even put the wrong dates and gone in the day before or something. It's happening often. It's nerve-wracking. It's stressful. It's beyond frustrating. Even I'm a person that I drive somewhere once and I'll remember how to get there. I'm kind of person that is aware of my surroundings. I kind of see a sign or a house or something that reminds me of where to turn. It's not about the directions or about the street address or about the streets to get there. I'm looking for things, and I'm not going to be able to come up with the word I'm trying to say. What am I trying to say? When you have things that you see that remind you of where you're going. There's a word I'm looking for. So this is what I'm saying. This is what's happening to me more often than not, is I'm having a really difficult time coming up with what I'm going to say. I talk about this. I used to mention a lot more in the beginning to let you guys know that I even watched my videos later on and realized I said something incorrectly, because I was having trouble coming up with the right word, and I'll throw something else out there trying to fill in the space, and sometimes it comes out the wrong way, or I mispronounce it or something, and I'll realize it later, like, oh my goodness. It's frustrating to hear yourself do that and know that I have no way to keep it from happening. It just happens, and there's nothing I can do. And so getting back to what I was talking about, driving somewhere that I know very well and I've been there a million times, and then to be driving down that street and suddenly be lost, like literally completely lost, and freaking out to yourself because you don't know where you are. And this is a road I've been on, and this happened 2 or 3 times lately, a road I've been on many, many times. So for me to be lost at that moment was very frightening. And of course it didn't last very long. It went away, and then I remembered again, or regained my consciousness of where I was, and I was fine. But to have that moment is scary. It's a scary feeling. And so I think that it might be getting worse because like I said, I had a lot of stress recently, finding out all these other health issues that are popping up. So this is a very scary thing. And I want to read a blog that I came across because I hadn't written one myself on this particular subject. So I want to read a blog by Whittmore. She's a survivor of a mild brain issue where she was in an accident. She was knocked off her horse, I believe. But real quick, I wanted to read this to you. And if you haven't seen it on the page already, I just wanted you guys to know. I get all these wonderful messages and comments on Facebook. And so I wrote on here how I'll just read it. I am continually surprised by the amazing warriors in my life. You have reached out to me in so many ways. Amazing messages and comments, as well as cards and gifts that have come in the mail, all delivering beautiful sentiments with such warmth and love within. Many tears have been shed, not in sadness, but in amazement of the thoughtfulness that you have taken to share your feelings with me, for me. We are many miles, states, and even countries, oceans apart, but the love I feel for you, from you, impacts me to my very core. You fill my heart so that it is simply overflowing. I love you all so very much. Thank you from the bottom to the top of my heart. Love, MJ. You guys, I've gotten all these messages, and it's the reason that it's, well, just overall, it's amazing that you guys do this for me. But I've been so out of touch and been kind of hiding in my own dark room, not dark necessarily, but I've been just hiding in my room and just kind of trying to keep my mind busy and very frustrated. So I haven't really been talking to people, and I don't want you guys to worry about me. I'm not depressed. I'm just, I think, frustrated, and it's just so much going on that I don't handle it well sometimes. So I just kind of just close myself off because I don't feel like I'm helpful to others when this is happening to me because I'm overwhelmed. My brain is overwhelmed. And so trying to have a conversation with multiple people, usually when I'm busy, I'm usually talking with many people, and I feel the confusion coming in, and because of that reason, I think I've kind of stepped back a little bit. And you guys have been so amazing that you're still reaching out to me and still checking on me and sending me these wonderful things in the mail. And I'll show you a couple of things that my friend Kim actually sent me, which have really been helpful because I've been taking time to not draw because the picture's already there, but color in these pictures, these adult coloring books basically, and listening to audiobooks. Now, I don't know what your love is, but as I've mentioned before, I love Jane Austen, and so I was listening to her audiobook, Persuasion. Now, I've literally had to listen to it more than once because my mind just wanders off, and so I find myself rewinding, and then I found myself actually listening to it completely from the beginning to the end once more because I felt like I had missed some things. That's the only one I had not read myself from an actual book. And so I decided to listen to it. And while I listened to it, I used my adult coloring book, and I'll show you a couple of things that I colored in that I really love. And so I really appreciate Kim Johnson for sending me that stuff because it has helped keep me occupied. And she sent me a word search book and a crossword book there together. And I haven't gotten onto that yet, but it will be something I'm definitely going to start doing. Also, what else was I going to... Oh, I guess that was it. So I'm going to read the blog by Laurel. And I came across this because I was looking for something in relation to what I've been going through because I hadn't written a blog myself, and I found hers. So even though it's not the same type of accident, you know, she still has gone through the same things. So here it goes. For me, brain fog was like walking in molasses. That's how I would describe my mental state after my MTBI, caused by a horse accident in 2001. Before my brain injury, I was high functioning, organized, and had a great memory. For example, after the accident, I thought I could work on my Quicken accounting program on my computer. I remember starting to post checks, and I couldn't understand why it took me so long and why I kept making lots of mistakes. Other things happened, like bouncing checks and missing appointments, being there at the right time but the wrong day. I used to pride myself in keeping my calendar of appointments and staying on top of my to-do list. My to-do list. Everything took so much longer to accomplish. When I drove my car to places I was familiar with, I would get lost. Brain fog would set in, and I would get confused and couldn't understand what the problem was. Then frustration would set in, which amplified the confusion, and by then I couldn't find my way. I really shouldn't have been driving, but the doctor didn't tell me not to. At least, I don't remember. And of course, my memory was a huge problem, short and long-term memory. Brain fog can be caused by many things, like concussions, chemotherapy, menopause. Mothers may experience after childbirth, and of course, as you all know, as fibro warriors, we experience that as well. My little add-in. Sleep deprivation has become the norm for type A personalities. By trying to fit 10 things in a 5-thing day, overachievers, supermoms, and trying to meet corporate demands, you'd be surprised how much you can accomplish in less time with 7-8 hours of sleep at night. If that's not always possible, how about trying 20-minute power naps, meditation, or just 10-minute walking breaks during the day? The good news is that I have regained my memory and cognitive skills with the help of my cognitive therapist. She's a speech-language pathologist that specializes in neurorehabilitation. There are cognitive therapists that are psychologists that work with behavior. So don't get them mixed up. I did take several years for my recovery and incremental success along the way, noticing the improvements in like 3-month increments. I was hopeful and encouraged to keep going. Sleep is still very important, and when I don't get my 8 hours of sleep for a couple nights in a row, I notice that I'm not as sharp during the day. If I get overtired, foggy brain does show up. It feels kind of like jet lag. That's when I know that I can't make good decisions, and I definitely can't write clearly or work with numbers. The next morning, after a full night's sleep, I'm sharp and alert again. This is by Laura L. Whittmore. I will post the link with this when we post this, so you guys can read it yourself if you like, or read more of her stuff. The things that she touched on are very similar to the stuff that I'm dealing with, and I'm sure a lot of you deal with as far as the brain fog goes. The getting lost stuff, that I got to tell you, that's really scary. Getting lost is scary, and I can't even tell you how frustrating it is to have all the stuff that we already have going on, and then have that other thing happen is just it's just to a point where I want to scream. I'm like, I have enough. I have enough going on. How much more do I have to endure? I wanted to read this to you real quick. In case any of you had this happen, you might want to get yourselves checked as well. If you have any kind of whiplash, been in any type of car accident, whether it's small or large, maybe look into this, because it is something that's missed with an X-ray or even a CT scan, and MRI is actually the best way to detect this. Most people recognize that whiplash is a common injury after an automobile accident, a result of having your neck snapped violently back or to the side as a result of a hard impact. But what many don't realize is that whiplash can affect more than your neck. It can and often does result in mild traumatic brain injury, MTBI, which is what the lady was talking about in her blog as well. If you've suffered whiplash as a result of an auto accident, you already know that, pardon the expression, pain in the neck it can be, but you may be suffering other symptoms that are indicative of a mild traumatic brain injury without realizing it. If you are experiencing any of the following symptoms, it is a good idea to see your doctor, who can order a CT scan or an MRI to take a closer look at the true extent of your whiplash injury. And once again, MRI is probably your best bet. Brain fog, dizziness, sleep disturbances, unexplained irritability, issues with memory, focus or attention, fear and other emotional issues, blurred vision, which I'm dealing with all of that too. I forgot to mention a lot of blurry vision lately, and I assumed it was migraine, but who knows. Your brain is protected by your skull, but having it jostled around and impacting the bony ridges, shelves, and other protrusions that make up your skull can cause some real damage. Aside from that, the cranial nerves, the nerves that exit the brain, can be sheared or even completely severed depending on how severely your whiplash actually is. Some of the symptoms listed above can also be caused by injury to the neck, muscles, and joints that connect to the brain and feed it information that is related to your sense of equilibrium and balance. When those functions are disturbed, other brain functions can also be affected negatively as a result. What to ask your doctor? If you suspect that you sustained an MTBI as a result of your whiplash, ask your doctor about ordering one or more of the following tests: neurological evaluation, eye tests with video tomography, cognitive testing, quantitative EEG or QEEG, psychological evaluation. Consider contacting a good attorney. If your injuries were sustained due to the negligence of another driver, it's important to contact competent personal injury law firms such as Power & Brown in Anchorage, Alaska. We are here. We were voted the best. Okay, they're not in this area, but if you're in Alaska. Of course, you would, if this car accident or anything you've had happen was recent enough, I think a year is the longest you can wait before you do anything about it. If it's been too long, then don't even put yourself through that, because there's nothing that you can do. But if it's been within a year that you've had this accident and you realize that there's more to it than just, you know, a mild injury, and you realize that you also have suffered a brain shear, it's important that you find out immediately, and you go talk to the right people, get yourself a lawyer. And of course, you know, if it's something that you cause, of course there's no need for a lawyer. But if it's something that someone else has caused you the harm, then of course you want to go and take care of that as soon as possible. I am, as you can tell, I'm a little bit all over the place. Today was scary because I inverted that appointment, and I came home and I was crying, and I'm like, and it's not like sad tears as much as just frustration, the frustration that you feel of knowing that, again, you messed something up and you have no control over it. And we deal with that a lot with a lot of things that in life with fibro and all of the connecting illnesses, and, you know, me finding so many things in such a short period of time has really taken a toll on me. I'm handling it a little bit better now, but there was a time when I was really just down and out, and for a couple weeks I was really down and out. I just want to show you, for example. So my friend Kim, or my friend Kelly went to England and Ireland and stuff. She brought me back this beautiful book, and so Kelly, thank you. And then my friend Kim, she sent me these. It's a little crossword puzzle and a word find. And she sent me this. Now this, because I'm an artist, I love anything to do with drawing. And so she sent me this, which is really cool. And it comes with its own set of pencils. And the first one that I drew, I actually used the pencils. But because I have bad arthritis in my hands get tired and start to hurt. Hence why I listen to more audiobooks lately than reading books. And so I went out and purchased this, which are upside down, but Sharpies. And I think there's like 40 in this pack. But these are so much easier for me to use because, you know, you can color it in a minute, where pencil, I feel like it took me forever. And so I'm going to show you a couple I did with a Sharpie that I really loved. And so I did this one first with a Sharpie, the butterflies. Aren't they pretty? And then I did this one yesterday. And these are all Sharpies. So, of course, you know, Sharpies do bleed a little bit, so it's not perfection, but I still love it. It's easier on me. It's not so difficult for me to color in with Sharpies as it is with pencils. If you can do the colored pencils, of course, you can get in there and do a lot more colors. Of course, with a Sharpie, it's a little harder to be, even though these are the fine points, still difficult to do the really intricate stuff. But the first one I did, I posted on Facebook with the butterflies. I don't have that one with me, I forgot. But so I love Sharpies. I use Sharpies all the time for my writing. My writing is atrocious and I have to write big, so Sharpies are perfect for me. Anyway, these are great things for you to do when you have a lot on your mind and you really need to get away. Coloring or reading or listening to an audiobook if you're like me and it's too rough for you to hold. It really sinks your mind into what's going on. And like I said, I love Jane Austen. I like thinking and imagining the things that she's talking about, imagining myself there. You know, when she talks about the big balls and things like that, and, you know, where everybody's dressed up in their lovely ball gowns and all the music and just listening to, I just like to listen to audiobooks where they have the accent, the English accent, so you kind of fit in a little bit more. But there's plenty of places. I found Fab Books has a beautiful rendition of Persuasion. That's what I've been listening to. I cannot recall the girl's name. I will write it down if I remember. But anyway, if you find yourself in need of a break and just get your mind, you know, away from things, and the coloring is a really wonderful idea. The audiobooks, of course, music and, you know, television, movies. I like to watch movies the most. I don't like commercials. They stress me out. I can't watch them. I got to fast forward through them. So most of the things I watch, I've pre-recorded. So that's a good idea. If you're anything like me, you got to pre-record it and watch it later. So anyway, thank you all so much. Thank you for the gifts. Oh, cards. I've gotten wonderful cards in the mail. I should have brought those out. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for watching and the support and everything. I love you guys. All right? You're not alone, and neither am I. Love y'all. Bye.